Jane Reilly's arrived. How are you?
I'm really well, Jeremy. I'm very excited to be in your dining room.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Maybe a little touch of what's going on here in Buckingham Palace.
Really?
It is quite grand. There's grand pictures on the walls and gold leaf around the top of the cornice.
Well,
and
I didn't do any of that.
And I'm sitting at a beautiful velvet dark
well,
blue.
that's just to stop the vibrations.
But it's so soft.
It is, isn't it?
I keep patting it and I'm waiting for it to purr.
Well, give me a chance and we'll organise that. In my little thingamabob here, we've got everything. I'm sure we could find a
I'm just wondering
cat, couldn't we?
Where's the Waterford Crystal and a little bit of champagne?
I don't think I have any of that. I've got some nice red wine. I was going to offer my guest from the Salvation Army, Major Hately, a glass of wine, and I thought, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Probably a little early in the day here in Adelaide.
Look, I suppose so. How have you been? I haven't seen you for a while.
Well, I've been busy. I retired from FIVEaa at the end of 2019 and I was planning my beautiful gap year because I'd always worked or, gone straight from high school to teachers' college and straight into the media at the age of 20. And I decided I was going to have a gap year, but then a thing called COVID happened. Yeah. So we couldn't really go very far. But that was 2020 was a very interesting year for me because my first grandchild was born in the April.
You're too young to be a grandmother.
I'm a grandmother to 2 and step-grandma to 5. Beautiful children, they're all gorgeous. But 2020, my now husband, Randall, got very sick and ended up in hospital with a thing called an empyema, which is an inflammation of the tissue around the lungs. He was very sick and he came home, and that year on Good Friday, we're having sort of a humble meal at lunchtime on Good Friday, and he says, let's have a glass of wine. And he then proposed. He said, while I was in hospital recovering, there were 2 things that I decided. One is that I want to buy a Bentley.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And one, I want to marry you.
No, that's wonderful. Just like that. What did you say?
Well, we'd been together for some years and I'm a little bit cheeky and I said, I have to think about that. But then afterwards I accepted, and I can now tell you that he's had a ride in both. Oh,
I think that's a fantastic. And has he passed judgment? Made a statement as to which he enjoyed?
You, Jeremy. I'm actually blushing now. I've made myself blush.
So, which did he enjoy most?
I think he likes both quite a
lot. I think you're entitled to both.
He is talking about upgrading the Bentley, but he's keeping me.
Oh, look, I think that's wonderful. But why did it take for him to get sick? And doctors don't normally get sick. Why did it take for him to get sick to say, I want a Bentley?
I think it was a reality that he was getting older and that life is like a piece of string. You don't know where the end bit's going to be.
No.
And he had, because of COVID, he was in no visitors for about 10 days. He had a birthday during that time. And I think he had a lot of time to think about what was important. And
yes.
He loves cars. He's got a beautiful 1968 E-Type Jaguar, which we adore.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful car in, concourse condition.
What colour is that?
It's red, of course.
It's red?
It's red.
Yeah. The red ones go faster.
They do.
Does he let you drive the E-Type?
I have driven it just in case, because we did do a few car rallies in it. We did the Variety Moto run in it a couple of times, and we just thought if something happened that I had to move the car, I needed to know how to drive it. But when you're used to a vehicle with power steering and good brakes and all that sort of stuff, it is you really know you're driving.
Oh, yeah.
And the nose of the E-Type is so long. You've got to anticipate where the line is to stop at the stop sign.
Yeah.
But she's a beautiful thing. She's a beauty on the outside and a beast under the bonnet. Her engine is just spectacular.
Yeah.
But we kind of swapped them around a little bit.
Did you restore it, or was it done for you?
Randall didn't restore it. It was actually involved in this is the E-Type, in the Adelaide Rally, I think it was about 2007, 2008. It was actually involved in a rollover up on the Norton Summit Road or near there, and it was deemed as being a total write-off.
Yeah.
So with some other people, it was totally restored. Yeah.
Well, it was the opportunity to
He wasn't driving, the navigator was driving. Never let the navigator drive.
No, that...
well, you're a bit of a car man.
Yeah, but I tend to worry more about them. You know, I couldn't take one out on a day like today because it might get wet.
Of course, I understand that.
You know, it's got to be Goldilocks weather, not too hot and not too cold. It's got to be just right.
I totally understand that. On days like that, we take my Honda out.
Yeah, and then I can't go anywhere because if I park the car, I have to park it somewhere where I can watch it.
Well, you should come out driving with us one Sunday morning.
Yeah, okay.
We do some fantastic drives. And Adelaide, our hills area, we've got some beautiful roads. We don't go over the speed limit, but we just enjoy some beautiful sweeping drives.
Yeah.
We did a great drive on Sunday with the Bentley Drivers Club, and we always end up somewhere nice for brunch. We meet at 7 a.m, so you've got to be up pretty early on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And off we go. But I've always liked cars, and the significant men in my life have always had cars. So my late husband was a Mercedes man,
yes.
And then Randall's a Jaguar man until he got the Bentley. So I've always liked the guys with nice cars.
What colour's the upholstery in the red Jag?
It's black.
Ah, yes. I can picture that.
There's no air conditioning.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, it's a convertible, I take it.
No, it's a hard top.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the convertible is your air conditioning.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. But the smell, there's something about the smell that you just get in there and it takes you back to an era, you know.
Yes, it's the oil, the leather.
Oh, did you, Tony?
Yes, there's a joke about Jaguars and oil, isn't there? That how do you check the oil?
Look underneath.
You look underneath. And if it's still leaking, you've still got oil in there.
Yeah, I have to remember that. But no, we have a lot of fun. That's one of the things that we do. And we've become involved. As you know, I took part in 18 variety essay bashes,
yes.
Which is if people don't know about that, it's sort of it's not a race, it's sort of like a rally into the outback, and it raises funds for children in need. And you usually go in sort of a beat-up sort of old Holden or Falcon or something, but I covered that for Channel 10 for 18 years.
Yep.
And then when I retired from bashing, because you get to the point where you don't want to sleep in a swag anymore.
No.
And you don't want to just have to do a body wash with just wet ones 3 days in a row and your hair starts to look terrible. We moved on to a new event called the Moto Run, and that we take the Bentley on that. And we're
very civilised. Very
civilised. It's all bitumen or hard top. You stay in nice accommodation, but you raise money. Your trip is your reward for raising money for the children. And this year's went to Dalesford and Marysville. So beautiful, beautiful roads up there. We went to Lake Eildon, went to the beach house or the shack for the castle. Michael Caton was was actually there.
Really?
He's a big supporter of variety, and so he was there cooking rissoles for us. So yeah, we have lots of the cars. We meet good people and we have a lot of fun. I mean, it might sound elitist getting around a Bentley or a Jaguar, but I mean, the Bentley is a 2009 model. It's not brand new.
No, it's beautiful. Sometimes the older ones are far better.
Yeah.
When I say better, I mean it's in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. But
she's very elegant.
Yeah. There was a time when cars were a lot more elegant. And then they went to this sort of boxy stage, and then I don't know, it's the 12-year-old in the design department.
I've just come from the shopping centre at Coles at Norwood, and some of the cars are just so big they take up, you can't even open your door up against them. They've just become so huge. But the Bentley has a W12 engine, so I have driven her. She's got a lot of grunt.
Yes, but so quiet and so civilised.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Very civilised. Do you miss show business?
Look, I don't. I'd had...
FIVEaa haven't rung you?
I have been doing work for them up until recently. I've been doing contract work, special projects, things. Big project I do for FIVEaa is the Best of SA. I do Healthcare Heroes. I do things at Easter time.
You said you were retired.
Well, I am now because I'm very fortunate at my grand old age of 68 to still have both my parents alive.
You're a baby.
And they've both been in poor health this year. So I'm now muddling through my aged care, working out support, home care packages. People my age would really relate to that. It's just kind of navigating the whole system, getting specialists for my dad. And then on the other hand, I have my two little grandchildren, Oscar and Hugo, who I babysit 2 days a week. So I'm what they call the sandwich generation. So I've got the elderly parents, which I'm very thankful for, and very blessed to have the babies. I wouldn't have time to work.
No.
So I decided that I needed to make this my new job. This was my commitment to look after my family, not to make them second best, but they are now my priority. And if any work can fit in around them,
but
then
you can always go back. You can always go back. Oh, well, this is something where it leads and where it's going to go. It's really up to God in heaven. I've got no idea, but it's just a fascinating thought that 100 years ago, radio started in very much the same way at a dining room table down on Green Hill Road at the Hume's dinner table.
Yes.
And that was the old 5DN or 5DN. So 100 years on, it's kind of romantic that this is a 21st century version of what was happening down on Green Hill Road. Online,
just log on and have a look, and people around the world are listening to us.
Yes, it's quite remarkable. You just got to find a way to make sure they find you, because there's so much stuff online. I don't know how people manage to find anything.
Well, maybe we need to talk to Andy, because he's sort of the youngest person in the room.
No, he's the whiz.
I think it's about you keep posting and you add hooks, hangers to your thing, and then you just kind of get people to build up your following. That's
hooks and hangers.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So
I remember that, Andy. I remember that.
So I've got a bit of a following on Instagram, so I've asked Andy to take some photos, and
lovely.
I'll hashtag you into it.
Terrific. How did you, whatever that means, you started out, was it Miss Beach Girl, or was it a beauty contest, or what was that?
When I was, in 1974, in the January, I won the Miss Australian Beach Girl Quest.
Right.
So I won the South Australian title, and I went on to win the national title. Now, it wasn't a sort of thing, I was a pretty, tomboyish, basic kind of, good fun girl, not very glamorous or whatever at that time. The TV station makes you be glamorous. But I was just down the beach one day with my mum, and my mum's only 18 years older than me, and we were just sort of down the beach hanging around West Beach, and they were running a heat for the Beach Girl Quest. And
what a twosome you must have made.
Hot little pair. And Mum said, why don't you get up there and give it a go? And I said, she said, go on, get up there. Well, I won the beach heat, then I won the studio heat, and then I won the state final, and then went off to Perth. And I was like the first brunette to win at that stage. But at that time, I was at Teachers College, because all I ever wanted to do was be a school teacher.
Really?
So I continued with my Teachers College, training. Yeah. And so I'm a qualified primary school teacher. During that time, I also represented Australia in the Miss Asia Quest in the Philippines in 1975, and still continued my studies. And then at the end of 75, when I graduated from Teachers College, Channel 10 rang up and offered me a job as the hostess on a program called Early Birds, an early morning children's show at 7 o'clock in the morning. And they kept ringing, and I kept saying no, because all I wanted to do was go teaching. I already had a job lined up in the Catholic system. Yeah. And finally my mother, bless her, said, Jane, if that phone, because, you got to think 1975, there's only one phone in the house. It's a wall phone in the kitchen. Yes. So everyone knows when there's a phone call coming through, and everyone's listening to what you're saying, especially your mother. And
I don't blame her.
And she said, if you don't take that job at Channel 10, I'll take it. Well. So I thought, well, okay, I'll do it. And that was the beginning of my media career. And I had many years I loved working on children's television. And then I became the weather presenter, because my other great passion in life is weather. So my father's family were all marine engineers, and Dad was doing a cadetship to become an engineer. So I grew up tapping the barometer.
Yeah.
Even today when I spoke to my father, I ring him every day at 8:30, we talked about how many millimetres of rain we got. So he's up in the hills.
Does he believe in climate change?
Oh, yes.
Because the climate is changing.
It's always changing. It's
always
been changing since dot one.
And here these people screaming and yelling about something that's absolutely natural.
It is natural, and we won't get into an argument, JC, but we are accelerating it.
We're not doing any good, but I don't think here in Australia we're doing the sort of harm that they are doing in China or India, yet we are not allowed to use the benefit of all of these resources that we have. I find that very strange.
It is a tricky one, and I just think, well, I'm going to treat the earth with the gentlest of care.
Yes, and respect, yes.
And leave nothing but maybe a little footprint somewhere along the way. But I think there's enough evidence now. I mean, I remember I was doing the weather in the early 80s when they started talking about the greenhouse effect. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Greenhouse effect. So even the Weather Bureau at that time kind of pooed it. But then as the evidence accumulated and people got on board and we learnt more, they are now, they know a lot about climate change. But the climate, as you said, it's been changing since, dot one. And all we need is like a massive volcano eruption over Indonesia or something, and more pollution comes out of that than what we generate in a decade.
One's about to pop in Iceland, I believe.
Again.
Yeah, it happens regularly. But
they've been watching that for a while because people have been...
Sort of cracks everywhere.
How scary would that be?
Bubbling, it's going to burst.
I wouldn't be hanging around there.
No. Well, I don't know that there's anywhere for them to go. It's just sort of... They just have to sit there and say, well, it happens regularly. We'll just get through this one like we got through the last one. But you mentioned greenhouse effect. You know how they're re-establishing and creating wetlands? Mm-hmm. They've done a beautiful one in Victoria Square, and there's one down there on Crossroads
at Reilly.
Yep. Wetlands. And if you Google...
there's one also in Victoria Park.
Yeah.
Beautiful big one.
Yep. Well, if you Google wetlands or you Google emissions, you find that I think it's about 52% of emissions, global emissions, come from wetlands, marshes, and deltas.
Really? That's interesting.
And that's methane, which is the worst greenhouse gas that you can get. Yeah, well, yes, there's a controversy with that. They want to feed the poor cows seaweed or something to stop them burping.
I wonder if that would change the taste of the milk or the meat.
Look, no, they've fixed that too, because they've got all this vegetable artificial meat that they're trying to sort of tell us is far better. But it doesn't taste very good.
I find all that very interesting because my youngest son, he's vegetarian, but for a while he was vegan. I remember ringing his partner one day, this is a few years ago, and I could, you can always tell when someone's eating when they're on the phone, there's this munching sound. And I said to the girl, "What are you eating?" She said, "I'm eating turkey." And I said, "But aren't you vegan?" She said, "No, it's vegan turkey out of a tin." Now, I think, what have they done to those poor soybeans to make them taste like, what else are you eating? I don't quite get that. I know that their intent is good and honourable, but what are you eating in the process to try to make things taste like turkey?
Yeah, I don't get it.
And it's out of a tin.
Would Randall like an electric car?
Oh, gee whiz. Oh, I wish he was here to talk to you. No.
No, me neither.
No. He says that if he had an electric car, he would probably have performance anxiety.
Let me think about that.
About not being able to go the distance. And actually on the moto run there were a couple of electric cars and there weren't enough points for them to be charged up, and one only was able to charge to 80%. Apparently that's a critical point. So the next day on the car run, they had to pull over and stop because they just didn't have enough power to keep going. But look, I think for around the city, I think one of our neighbours has got one of the little cute mini ones. It's really cute little black one with bright yellow wing mirrors. I think for around the city, they're certainly very good, but I think the whole infrastructure of supporting them is not there yet. A friend of mine has a Mercedes electric car. He drove it down to Mount Gambier. When he got to Border Town to recharge, there were 6 other cars waiting.
And it can't get it done like filling the tank.
No, it took him 4 hours.
4 hours, you're going to sit there before.
And what happens if you end up...
And these things are popular? I don't get it.
It's a worthwhile consideration, but I think we have to wait until the infrastructure is there.
Yeah. Oh, the funniest thing...
Tony's nodding his head. He's agreeing with me.
No, Tony doesn't like them. Andy, you like them? No.
Yeah. Well, what do you do with the batteries? They don't biodegrade.
And the other problem is, of course, that you bring it home or wherever you're taking it to charge it, and where do you think the electricity is coming from? Probably, mostly, the generation of coal and gas.
Unless you've got solar panels or...
So you take the pollution out of the back of the car and you put it back in the power station. The funniest thing I've ever seen is the bloke who carried the diesel generator.
Behind a Tesla.
Yeah, there was the Tesla, and he was carting with him in case he got caught short in the battery department. He was towing a diesel generator. Now, I can't get my mind around how anybody could save the planet.
Like on a trailer behind him.
Yes, he was going to save the planet by driving a Tesla, and yet he had to bring his charging mechanism with him, which was a very polluting sort of charging mechanism. But
I think the Tesla's a very pretty looking car. I do like the aesthetics of them. I think they're quite pretty. I saw one on the road yesterday going up Fullerton Road that was almost like an iridescent green. It was quite... And, I think, that is a nice looking car. I like the shape of it. The other issue with them is you don't hear them coming. Like if you're a pedestrian... you really have to have your wits. I think they put some artificial noise in there, but...
Doesn't that defeat the purpose somewhat? The silence is, apart from being golden, what's the point of having an artificial engine running that isn't?
You should be living at Norwood at the moment. We're hearing a lot of revs at the moment with the Adelaide 500 on.
Yes, up where we are...
Do you hear the noise as well?
Oh, it sounds like a swarm of locusts.
Yes, a swarm of bees coming through.
Yeah, and from 7 o'clock in the morning or something they get started. But it's only a short time.
Well, I'm hanging out for the big RAAF jet fighter to come over tomorrow. I've forgotten what.
The flyby.
The flyby. Tony might know.
It's an FA-18?
We haven't had it ever in Adelaide before.
Oh, no, it's an F-35 then.
An F-35, yes.
That's the strike fighter.
So I'm going to be up on the balcony watching that. So don't know. I'm going to have to... Tony's having a look to tell...
Have a good look at it because...
a quick look.
A quick one. Like the hummingbird, theoretically it can't fly. They call it the flying brick. So, it's all computer. Well, Tony would know more about it than I do, but it's all controlled by a computer, and if that computer was to go down or have a
hiccup,
so too would the plane.
And what are they worth? About $90 million?
Yeah. You don't want to lose one of those.
One of the most exciting things I've ever done in my career was I flew with the roulettes.
Wow.
And it was for an Adelaide 500, and I had to go out to Edinburgh and have a full medical done, blood pressure, all that sort of stuff, put into the flying suit, and I was in the lead plane of the formation, and we got to the racetrack.
Flying very close together.
Oh, the wingtips are almost touching.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. And we got to the racetrack a bit early, so we just went for a quick run down to Victor Harbour and back. And then we flew down the middle of the straight, the main straight there, and I could see people's faces and I was waving to them like the Queen.
Did they run through the business of ejecting with you?
They did. They kept saying, do not
touch that.
Do not touch that.
And that is a kind of a loop. It's between your legs and it's kind of yellow and black.
That's it.
Yep. Yellow and black stripes. And that is, you just don't touch that. Ever.
Don't ever touch it, no. But I was with
Unless, of course, he says eject. He's got to say eject 3 times and then you grab it and pull it.
Well, it was a fantastic experience and I was treated really well. Like, it was just an amazing thing to do.
Yes.
That was back in the Channel 10 days.
Yeah, I can understand people getting bitten by the flying bug. I'd prefer a sort of an old biplane, something with lots of canvas and
No, I'd
glue.
rather something like...
Oh, no, but with the old biplane, you could just sort of get out and walk.
Or you can just glide down, I
Well,
suppose.
yeah. I think these modern planes don't really glide all that
No,
well.
Tony's found out a bit more.
We're 20 past 2.
Oh, we need the glasses on.
Coming at 2:20.
Tomorrow afternoon.
2:16 tomorrow, 2:21.
Are you going to the concert?
No.
No, neither am I.
No, we'll hear it anyway. I'll sit up on my balcony and hear it anyway. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by Robbie Williams fans in this house, so I'm not one. But
Are they going?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
I'll have some peace and quiet.
Oh, well, he's a great performer. I think it's great what we do here in Adelaide. We're very good at embracing an event and we take ownership of the event.
Because the whole city becomes the event, and you can't really do that in many cities.
We are the right size for it. We're just the kind of, whether it's the bike rally at summertime, the Tour Down Under, all those sorts of events, we really embrace them, and we're just the right size population to manage it.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's the right size for a city. Any bigger, and there's a sort of an anonymous kind of lonely feeling.
Impersonal feeling.
Yeah, because you could have 5 million people living with you and really not know one of them.
Well, I think when you get into those really big cities, which I've had the fortune to travel a lot, is that people sort of bunker down more. Like, I think here in Adelaide, we're quite generous of spirit. We'll say hello to strangers. There
are people in Sydney who have never spoken to their next-door neighbour. And whether that's out of fear or it's just the way it is in a big city, I don't know. Here, everybody pretty much knows everybody.
Absolutely.
What he does, where he does it, and how well he does it.
When we went away recently, our neighbour cleaned up our whole backyard for us. Just blew all the leaves away and cleaned up for us and made sure everything was clean and tidy, and we watch out for each other, make sure that...
In Sydney, the same thing would happen, but you'd come back and everything in the house would be gone. Hell with the leaves in the back, we'll just clear the place out.
For those listening in Sydney, I'm really sorry about Jeremy's comment then. I'm sure there's
no. Well, Sydney and I have got a love-hate relationship.
Well, you worked there for a while, didn't you?
Oh, I was born there, and I spent the first...
Well, that's a pretty strong connection.
Yeah. What would it have been? Well, from 62 to 75, I worked in the business. So I know it well, but this is a completely different feeling, different fabric, different vibe.
I think what's interesting is that out of COVID, a lot of our young people, like the late 20s, early 30-year-olds, have come back to Adelaide to live. Now that we can work from home, we have the technology that you don't have to be in the office. You can be anywhere in the world. And they've come back, and even though our house prices have gone up in Adelaide, they're still much more affordable compared to Sydney prices.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the positives that's happened, that we've brought back new young blood, new energy.
Yep.
We were becoming a city of old farts like ourselves.
No,
and both my sons were interstate, and
merely experienced.
They're now back in Adelaide, and I'm so happy to have my children near me.
Well, you can work anywhere, so why would you work in the madhouse just simply because you need to? Tony's waving the clock in front of me.
Have we talked for that long?
Look, it's been a wonderful pleasure. They don't let me look at the clock apart from when I'm running out of time. Because, you see, because the program goes not only all over Australia, but I don't know where, vast distances and the time. You could never give time calls on a program like this.
No, because you have to be adding and subtracting or taking 8.5 hours off for somewhere to the west of us, or a day off if they were to the east of us.
Yeah. What are you going to do for Christmas?
Family Christmas. So my son Joseph has volunteered to host the family on Christmas Eve.
How many children did you have?
I only remember having 2.
Right, you only remember having 2. Well, if you'd had more, they would remind you, I promise you.
So I have Joseph and Edward, and Joe's the one that's married with the 2 little boys, and they're going to host Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day we'll do pop-ins to the rest of the family, because Randall and I decided, because Randall's a little bit older than me, that we've hosted it for so many years that we're retiring from hosting Christmas, and the young folk can take it over, and they've done it really willingly. They think it's a great idea. So our Christmas is just family focused, very low key. I make Christmas cakes. I make little Christmas cakes for every member of the family.
Are you a good cook?
Look, I'm edible. My food is. In that my younger son's a chef. And after we finish in 2 minutes, I'm going to have lunch where he's working now. He's just started a new job down at Henley Square at a place called Henley, and it's spelt with no E's in it. So my girlfriend, Kerry Ackermans, who you might know.
Yes, I know Kerry.
Yeah, Kerry and I are really good mates. So Kerry and I are having lunch at Henley to try it out. I haven't been down there before, so he's only been there for about a month. So, so Edward is an exceptional chef, so he does a lot of the food cooking for us.
I probably can't lay my hands on it immediately, but I was reading a story about a national, maybe even international competition to find the best restaurant, the best seafood restaurant, the best hamburger joint, the best, and out of the sort of dozen or so categories, South Australia had something like 6
I can believe
of
that.
the best,
food
the
is
best
beautiful.
in Australia.
Yeah. He was working.
Mind you, I'd never heard of half of them.
No. Well, if you ever get the chance, he was working at a place called Down the Rabbit Hole at McLaren Vale, and that is a really wonderful dining experience. Beautiful, organically, locally sourced foods, and a lot of care and love goes into their menu. But it was just the driving every day got to him. So he's now working at Henley, and he's loving that, and that's got more of a Mediterranean focus on the food. But I'll be able to report back after today. But I'm sure, knowing Edward, it will be delicious.
Well, you brought him up well. I'm really sure you did.
He's a good boy.
You should have had a daughter as well. You'd have made a...
Well, maybe I have, but I don't remember.
You have a mental block.
I do have a gorgeous niece, so I get my kind of little girl fix from Chloe.
Yeah. Now I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to take you to the garage and show you my E-Type, which used to be owned by Dolly Parton.
Oh, wow. What a legacy.
Well, what a legacy. I mean, every time I look at it...
How did you get it? You haven't got time to tell me.
No. Well, just quickly, Robert, do you remember the restaurant in North Adelaide? It was in O'Connell Street, just there near the old Le Cornier's building on the other side. It was called Scoozy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember Scoozy.
Scoozy.
There was a gunfight there one day.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, there was.
A gunfight.
Bullets flying around one time.
Never take a knife to a gunfight. Anyway, what Robert was the guy who owned Scoozy.
Yeah.
And Robert went to America, bought the car, didn't think too much. I don't think he's a fan of Dolly Parton. I am, but he wasn't.
I think she's gorgeous,
so
lady.
didn't cut any mustard with him. Anyway, he bought the car, brought it back, had it totally restored. It was British racing green. He painted it white. And for some reason, he sold it. I got it at Richmond's. And subsequently, it sits there, and I get a buzz out of just looking at it. I can just imagine Dolly sitting in it.
Well, you should call the car Dolly, and you should bring it on a Sunday drive with us.
All right. Yeah.
When we bring out the little red car, you can bring out Dolly.
All right. I think that's a lovely idea. Wonderful to see you.
Happy Christmas to you and your family.
Happy Christmas, Jane.
And have a good 2024.
God bless you.